Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the lab. We're back inside the house. We're going to take a break from the outside garden for the rest of the season. So welcome back to this particular shooting arena. Today we're going to do a capsule selection, one that I have affectionately called the formula. This is where I bring about certain fragrance, I would say genres and or recorded fragrances that have a distinct taste and feel for my appreciation for that particular accord. And today we're going to represent the accord and variations of bittersweet to ethereal coffee fragrances. Now, the coffee essence is one that we all enjoy, most of us, not all. The caffeinated stimulant, the ethereal effect of coffee, while also being something that can be quite relaxing and restorative. So in my collection, I have done a curation of fragrances that I cannot say how much it is that I enjoy these particular scents for what they do in that. They have a very fine veil of stimulation, like I said it, and it has a particular nuance that comes off with a quite bit of arousal and allure to it. So you can go in two different directions with it, being it the actual bitterness of the plant, the roasting of the bean, the mixture of the coffee as a latte, so it goes this bitter earthiness all the way to this sweet gourmand feel. And so for me, coffee is one of those generational scents that goes off. You can be a 20-year-old to a 60-year-old and enjoy these fragrances and not come off as a outdated, but more of a modern and modernistic take on fragrance that can be much so being appealing for you. So if this sounds like the type of content you think you'll enjoy, pull up a seat, pour a glass. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Dry Down, the lifestyle channel where we as enthusiasts aspire to enhance and elevate our olfactive sensory experiences through the understanding of the different aromas, facets, and nuance of scents, cigars, and wines. I'm your host, Chris. Welcome to today's experience. We're going to dive into a list of coffee fragrances, like I stated, everything from the bitter earthiness all the way to the latte and mocha sweetness of particular fragrance nuance of coffee. First off in my list, I want to talk to you about a fragrance that's been in my collection since 2014 when it launched. This is Valentino UOMO. And Valentino UOMO is one of those designer fragrances that came off the beaten path. It had a similarity to certain fragrances in its intense form, but this one here came off so well in its use of chocolate, bergamot, what else it had? A lot of iris in this, a lot of sandalwood, but the coffee nuance was one that was in the mid of this particular scent, and it came off as this robust, earthy effect that transitioned to the base to meet those wood and leather accords. It was a fantastic scent then, it's a fantastic scent now, and I think for a designer fragrance, it's still one in its usage, a great fragrance for fall and winter wear, and even some summer nights. It's very sweet, very alluring. Like I said, this one is not this restorative, stimulative type. This one is that relaxing, calm, date night fragrance style, and it's very, very beautiful the way it comes off from the skin with its projection cloud and sillage that lasts about 7 hours on skin in the EDT form, especially this first formulation. Now, the caveat to this one is that it did smell like Dior Homme with this iris accord, but not exactly. It came off a little bit sweeter, but more woody as well. So that's why I enjoyed this one at that particular junction of me purchasing in my journey, because Dior Homme was one that had captured the noses, the intense had even elevated that essence, and then this one came in behind that was a slight similarity, and it was one that was on the market that was just fire. So once again, this is UOMO by the House of Valentino. It's the first one on this list. Next up on this list, guys, is from the Spirit of Dubai. This is the scent TURATH, and TURATH is one of those fragrances that just, it has a very robust and elaborate fragrance accord and complexity. This is one that many people, I'll put it like this, the robust coffee accord is that very, very dark roast with that ethereal earthiness to it. It has a lot of the actual plants in it, and that's the one thing I love about this one. If you've ever smelled the bitterness, the bitter sweetness of the actual coffee bean, that is what comes off in this particular scent in such a robust form. It's very fruity, very warm, spicy, very smoky and powdery, but a little cacao feel to it. It's a silk roll style of fragrance, but at the end of the day, the beauty of this one is the coffee essence to me. It comes off like another fragrance in my collection that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this video. They have a similarity in that actual bitterness of the coffee ground or coffee bean before it's been ground and roasted. I very much enjoy that about this particular scent, and I think you all should get your nose on this particular bottle of TURATH if you have the penchant for a good coffee note that has no, there's no basic, the instinct of this one's to come off very, very refined, sweet, but earthy, groundbreaking in some ways as well, the way it comes off, because it has one of those evolutions as a scent that is like a 3-hour evolution. It has some fruitiness, like I said, woodiness, some sweetness, but the actual essence to me that makes this a beautiful concoction is that bitter sourness of the coffee bean mixed in with those other ethereal, or not ethereal, but other elaborate, effective accords that makes it so well as a scent. Once again, TURATH by the House of Spirit of Dubai. Great fragrance. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, this is the scent ENDYMION. I put this on my list a few weeks ago, and it very much so can come into many different lists. This one is a perfectly blended fragrance that is grand. It is sweet, it is warm, it is rooty, it is soft, it is slightly spicy. It's a profound and persistent lavender and coffee scent with a lot of the dewy take on vetiver. Now, I love the way this particular scent smells. It's when here, it's like I said, it's one that I had the larger bottle, went through it, and I actually picked up the 30 ml bottle of it. I enjoyed this one so much, man. It's a great capturing fragrance. It keeps you grounded. The scent is actually surprisingly alluring as well, with the undertones of leather and incense. One that is a great wearing fragrance that I think all you guys should get your nose on from the House of PENHALIGON. This is ENDYMION. Next up on the list, gentlemen, ladies, I have one of the best rum coffee fragrances. Now, if you're one who enjoys the liqueur facets of coffee, this is the one that you want to grab for ultimately. This is a very sweet, warm, cozy, refined, sensual, charismatic fragrance that is just so well done. It's slightly reserved in the way it projects, but that's what you want in a fragrance like this. It has that beautiful rum accord, that beautiful roasted coffee, the beautiful sugar cane, Java vetiver, patchouli, and a very sensual sandalwood accord in this one. It creates a vibrancy up front when you spray it on that is composed of the sweet rum, but that vibrancy settles down into a very dashing and complex fragrance that creates an aura around you that you cannot get enough of, and the others around you cannot as well. The coffee in this is one of the most prominent, along with the rum and sugar cane. And that's one thing about this particular scent that Sidoni Lancesor put together for us that is one phenomenal scent. This here is the refill bottle. If you're looking for a more economical purchase, you can get this along with these bottles from Amazon and any other retail wholesale place, and you can come off with a great price point without getting the cough red and or the refillable bottle that the company sells, and still have the perfume as one to wear as a sweet gourmand take on an aphrodisiac fragrance. Once again, Black Phantom Memento Mori by the House of BYKILIAN. Ladies and gentlemen, next up I have here, which is one of the most multifaceted fragrances in this actual list for me today. This is the scent of oud and bourbon. And I tell you, man, this, if you're one who loves a very rich, warm, spicy fragrance with a lot of cacao, coffee, and just a gorgeous oud note, this is the one that you should get from the House of what is this? The Sense of Woods. I keep forgetting that sometimes. The Sense of Woods is one of those indie houses that has put a lot of fragrances on the market. They've worked with a lot of master perfumers, and they have not lacked on creativity and new essences to fragrances. And this one here, the oud and bourbon, man, this one, I love the way this one smells. You can see the juice in that. It's very green. That's one of the effects of this one. Now this one, is green. It can slightly affect the coloration of a white shirt, so I don't spray this on my shirts and my clothing, but let this sit in the skin for about half an hour over the collar or something like that without getting on your clothes. You'll be fine. It won't transfer, but it does stain if you spray it directly on. But as far as the scent goes, man, this is one of the, like I stated, multifaceted fragrances. Very wonderful, very warm. It intermingles the effect of oud and coffee with cacao and warm spices very effectively. And this one is actually a sensual fragrance while also being a slightly rustic feel to the coffee accord. And that rustic feel can put you in a mindset of being out in a log cabin. It can put you in a mindset of being around a smoky fire. And that's one of the things that becomes arousal and sensual about this particular coffee accord as well, because it dries down to that deep woody greenness with a slight balsamic accord to it to make it very fulfilling as a wear, because this one stays on the skin quite a long time, has a great evolution, and is just wonderful to wear. Once again, Oud and Bourbon by the House of Sensible. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, what we got here is I Love New York from the House of Bond Number 9. And this one here is one of those fragrances, man, it's one of the best takes on, subjectively, a take on gourmand, robust gourmand in my opinion. It's one that when I first got this particular scent in, I did have a hard time wearing it because I couldn't wrap my hand around this sweet roasted caramelic chestnut accord in it. But it wasn't because it was off-putting or something I didn't want. It was something that I had not become used to in its uniqueness for this particular scent style. And so I was kind of thinking when I heard about it, I blind bought it, I wanted it, I got it in. It smelled great, but it smelled slightly feminine to me because like I stated, I was not used to that depths of sweetness in gourmand fragrances, which I still have a hard time playing with every so often. But for this one, now that I wear it, it has this very sweet patchouli, very sweet sandalwood, a bergamot opening with that ultimate accord of a very robust coffee and lacquered, or not lacquered, but marinade glazed chestnuts, and that's one of the best accords. Now this is one here, for some reason, many of you guys know who are Bond Number 9 fans. Whatever the proprietary note in Bond Number 9 that they use, you know what that is, you've smelled it before, and you can almost pick it up instantly when you smell their fragrances. This has that at a high dose. So that very beautiful intake of arousal from Bond Number 9 fragrances, if you want that musk or whatever it is that they use, it's so high in this particular scent. And it is a very attractive scent, and many people will tell you that from compliments and conversation. So once again, I Love New York for All from the House of Bond Number 9 is one great coffee, vanilla, chestnut, and woody fragrance that has a little bit of the Lily of the Valley in it as well. So it's that slight white floral accord that keeps it keeps it from going too dark in its essence or too deep into the sweetness. It keeps that light ethereal white flower accord, and it comes off very well made. Once again, like I stated, I Love New York for All from Bond Number 9. Next up, guys, from the House of GUERLAIN, I have EXQUISES. I love when they do these French names, man. But this one here is a phenomenal scent that goes along with the actual earthy, spicy feel of black pepper and cardamom with a base layer of coffee and patchouli. If you're looking for an essence that has those components with a very special sandalwood and pepper accord, this is the one for you. It has a very Guerlain-esque style of perfumery to it. It's not one of those very loud fragrances that they can produce. It's a very effective way of pulling in a date night fragrance that you know either your lover or your significant other can sometimes be one who's adverse to certain styles of fragrances and or too loud of a fragrance when you come home and you begin to get into the mood. This is one of those date night fragrances that you can use because it is an arousing fragrance, it is alluring, it is sensual, and it is wearing close to the skin while still being a bubble of about, I say 6 inches. But what you can do with this one is, like I stated, as a date night fragrance. It doesn't reach across the table, but when she comes in close to you, when you guys are walking hand in hand, she's going to smell this, and it's very sweet, warm, spicy, and that is one that just comes off very grand. It emits one of the most unique facets and contrast of cardamom and coffee, but it's one that I typically enjoy. And you can see I probably had this one about 4 months now, and I've gone through maybe, because these Guerlains come filled to the top, so I've gone through maybe 15 ml of this one already. So this one is EXQUISES Exquisite by the House of GUERLAIN, a great coffee cardamom fragrance I think that you should get your nose on. Next up, another one from the House of Spirit of Dubai. This is MAJALIS. MAJALIS, man, this is one of my favorite fall fragrances of all time, man. This one here, it came in with a flash pan of this high intensity, what people got their nose on what not Spirit of Dubai was doing. And for me, when I saw this particular scent, I was more interested in the beauty of the bottle and the scent structure than I was even curious about what people were saying about the scent. It just felt like something I knew I wanted in my collection from the presentation. And this one has not failed me at all, man. MAJALIS is a very sweet, vanillic scented, milky and balsamic style of candy floss scent. But it comes in deep, rich with a hookah fruitiness, a smokiness, and a coffee accord in this one that is even better than its predecessor and or brother house coffee scent TURATH to me. This one is very sweet. This one is almost like that latte smell of coffee with fruit all around you. You're inside of a coffee house with baked goods, all kinds of baked goods with fruits on top, from the raspberry. I don't know what it's not a custard, but it's that jellied apricots, jellied fruits, jellied strawberries that are on top of those breads that smell so well inside of a coffee house. And this is exactly what it smells of to me. Not so much in the baked goods scent, but that fruit that's on top of the coffee that's inside of the floral accords that are in this make it so much of a delicate floral composition, but it enriches the gourmand fragrance so well. This is one that if you get this in your collection, you're going to wear through this entire bottle within 2 years, because I know for me, if it were not for others in my collection, I would have worn this entire bottle so far. Once again, MAJALIS by the House of Spirit of Dubai. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we're going through this series of coffee fragrances, and I would be so ineffective as a reviewer and a content creator giving you guys options and recommendations, but I did not put this one on my list as a very high recommendation. This is the coffee scent Golden Dollar by the House of XERJOFF, and man, it is one of the most gorgeous wearing, warm, spicy, seductive, ambery, and aromatic style of fragrances with a great balsamic aromatic or balsamic resinous feel to it that just comes off just phenomenal, man. Now, my taste may vary from some of yours, so I always suggest sampling first. But when you talk about something sweet, coffee, warm spice, slightly sweet in the candy direction, but you can't quite pick it up. It's like this warm, sweet, kind of like this unexpected sweetness faucet from a nuttiness, but a concoction of fruits and accords and the things in that up top. It's just so phenomenal. It's in the vein of what I was talking about with MAJALIS, but it's not as bright as MAJALIS. This one has more depth, more sensuality, more sexual arousal to it. It comes off with a better oud accord as well than MAJALIS. And this is, for me, the Golden Dollar is one of XERJOFF's most underrated modern collection fragrances that I've seen come across. I'm one who's a XERJOFF fan, and I even underrated this when I first got it. Then I started to smell it more often. I'm like, man, who doesn't want this in the top 10 list twice a year? So for me, Golden Dollar is a coffee, a peppery kicked coffee that has a nuance that comes off in the more robust feel of coffee, not the latte feel or not even the green bitterness, but that right in the middle where they start to roast the coffee inside of the tin stills, and they're putting that right off the trees and their coffee roasting. This is what it smells like, and it's very good the way they did it. It has a slight smokiness to it, not only the coffee roasting, but an incense accord. Golden Dollar from the House of XERJOFF is one fantastic coffee fragrance. I think you would be remiss if you did not get a sample of this to test it out for your collection if you are a coffee fan and or a coffee signature scent searcher. Once again, Golden Dollar from the House of XERJOFF. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have a scent by the House of BYKILIAN, and this is Intoxicated. Intoxicated is one of those fragrances, man, that has been around my collection for years now. First off, I got the scent of Amen by the House of Mugler, which is no longer, I've searched for it in its traditional form or its pre-formulation, and I'm not paying the price that some people want for it. I actually got frustrated and sold some of my Amen fragrances because of the price points and the actual inability to fulfill my collection the way I wanted it to. But I digress on that. This one here is Intoxicated by BYKILIAN. They came off very much so, even better than what I felt about Amen from the House of Mugler. This is a very robust caramelic coffee fragrance with a lot of nutmeg and cardamom spices with a very beautiful cinnamon accord. It's very deep, it's very rich and dense and sickly sweet, but it has this warm, buttery tone of coffee and caramel together, and it's one of the sexiest scents. Now, the very beautiful effect of this one is, with many of these, the way that they are using cardamom. And to me, man, this is phenomenal. This is, just like Golden Dollar, one of those fragrances that just needs to be in anyone's collection, if they're a coffee fan or not. It needs to be around and give it the pleasure that you want for an earthy effect, a sweetness, they can be some of the most arousing fragrances, because I think back about the most amount of compliments I get in the fall season. A lot of them, people don't pick up that they're smelling coffee, but they do know that they smell something pleasurable. It's signaling something in their head. It's that stimulant, and it's that one thing that brings them, a lot of people, in the morning time joy of smelling that roasted coffee coming up out the side of their anywhere, any place you enjoy coffee, man. Most of us are in the hustle and bustle trying to get things done. So you smell that stimulant in the morning. Most of us relax with coffee as well as one of our evening nightcaps, try to take it in and just relax and feel that warm sweetness. And for me, this one ticks both boxes in this coffee. So it could be a coffee absolute and a coffee synthetic in this one, because it catches both the richness and the spiced nuance of what coffee can smell like. And so for me, this is one of the most exemplary fragrances on the market when it comes to presenting an accord to you, and that is the Accord of Coffee. And this is Intoxicated by BYKILIAN. Get your nose on this if you have not. You're missing out. Next up on the list, guys, this is Soul Cafe by the House of Savoir Faire. And for me, if you guys want to search out one of the best and preeminent coffee fragrances, there is a date night killer. It's made for creating sensuality. This is exactly what this scent is for. It's not one that is meant for the nuance of coffee being thought-provoking. It's not one that's thought or made for being a stimulant. This one, Soul Cafe, is one of the best date night fragrances on the market right now. The way that this is blended, the way that this has matured, the way that it is macerated when it comes to you, this is one of the sexiest fragrances. Very fruity, very woody, spicy, and gourmand-esque. It has some amber wood in it. It has some red grapefruit, some lavender, musk, oud, patchouli, tobacco, but ultimately it's this very warm, spicy Arabian coffee scent with a tobacco and patchouli hit that just comes off very well. The citrus notes very much so make this a sweet citrus accord, not something that's very bright or something uplifting, but more sensual in the vein of things like the fruit accords that are in this one are kind of like the candy fruit that you will see, like the dried candy fruits. So it's that sweetness that comes off of those along with that, so that's that fruity citrusness, and then with the woody and tobacco accords along with that coffee, man, this one is a stunner. Just a stunner, just a stunner. This could be signature scent worthy throughout any man's fall wardrobe, especially for evening wear. It's appropriate, I would say, for anything outside of a true business meeting. So office, if it's just a relaxed day at the office, you could wear this, but anything outside of a true business meeting, I wouldn't wear this. But any other time, leisure, date night, evening wear, this is a go-to fragrance for any of us to have in our collection. Once again, this is Soul Cafe. Got a cool little picture on the back. This is done by Chris Classic out of, I think, Atlanta. And this is Soul Cafe, man. Get your nose on this one if you have not. Great independent perfumery. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, what we got here is one of the best avant-garde fragrances on the market. To me, this is one that I've kind of kept to myself, because I know that some of these fragrances, especially from ARQUISTE and houses like that, they don't go off as well as people have perceived them to be. And what I mean by that is sometimes we can recommend these type of fragrances and they have such a beautiful blend, but such off the beaten path of many things that people have smelled that they kind of reject them as scents that they want in their collection. But if anybody in my community has smelled this, I want you to tap in about what NANBAN has smelled like for you, because this one for me is one of the most underrated fragrances in all of perfumery. This is a leathery, just one of the most beautiful leathery, smoky incense fragrances that has tea and coffee inside of it, along with many other nuances that make it one of the best smelling silk road fragrances. Now, I'm not sure what the word NANBAN means, but if I was to guess it, it would be something to do with an Arabic lifestyle that had travels, money, and the effect of coming home to a rich smelling house that had all these things in it, from the burning of incense. You had brewed coffee in the morning and brewed tea in the evening. You have your leather sofas. You have all these lacquered woods around your home, and you have one of the most wealthy establishments in your community. That's what NANBAN smells like. It's a very, like I said, avant-garde smell that is very, very beautiful, done by the House of ARQUISTE. Coffee, tea, leather, incense, lacquered woods, very warm, very resonant, very sweet, but effectively polished as well. So this is one I think all you guys should get your nose on if you're interested in, as I state again, avant-garde fragrances that really have an attractiveness and allure to them that you can't find in any other fragrances. This is so well done as a fragrance that this comes off. You can't mock this or mimic this in a dupe. You can't. They wouldn't do it because it's too well made. It's not one of those simple fragrances. It has such an evolution on the skin, so much depth, so much craftsmanship and craftsmanship and artistry in it that they won't even try to mock this. And this one is one of the best fragrances that you can find on the market when it comes to, like I said again, that avant-garde style of perfumery. Very, very gorgeous fragrance, man. I think all you guys should get your nose on NANBAN by the house of ARQUISTE. Ladies and gentlemen, last on this particular list, this is Black Afghano by the house of NASOMATTO. Now, as many fragrances you know from this house, they don't produce the actual, they don't produce the fragrance list or the notes for these particular scents, as you guys know. So we have to be mindful of what these things evoke. And for me, Garnier always gave something to us in the way he named his fragrances, and he gave us Black Afghano. And when I first smelled this, I smelled one of the best, most prolific, rich coffee notes that I'd ever smelled before. Now, the funny thing about this is my second bottle of this one as well, because I got this one very early in my collection. When I first got this second bottle, it did not smell like the ending of my first bottle, but over the years, I've also kept the end, like 5 ml of the first bottle. This one, over the years of maceration, like this last 3-4 years or so, has done the trick of catching up to what the actual initial smell of the first bottle smelled like for me. So for me, I'm not sure if there was a maceration issue for the bottle or a maturing issue for me going back to the first one and then smelling this one after being mature with air let in. But what this is, it's one of the best black coffee, green Afghan, which is the marijuana smell, but it doesn't smell like anything burning weed. It has a medicinal greenness to it. It smells of marijuana, or the cannabis plant, I should say, and that black coffee with a lot of oak and some sweetness in here that I can't pick up on anything outside of it being like a myrrh resin, some type of balsam, maybe a Peru balsam, something like that, or a cohiba, which is those kind of like a frankincense. It's a tree sap resin that burns very seductively and very sweet around the home. It has those nuances that make this one of the best smelling coffee fragrances, in my opinion, on the market. Get your nose on Black Afghano by the house of NASOMATTO, and you will not be disappointed in what you find. Very, very alluring scent, very arousing, very masculine, very handsome, very effective fragrance for all of us. Once again, Black Afghano by the house of NASOMATTO. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my video for you guys today. I hope as always you enjoyed this one. This one to me was a very comprehensive list to put out to you guys for coffee fragrances that come from the depths of coffee making. So that means to me, I wanted to put out something, and my collection was curated for that. This showed the actual greenness of the actual leaf and bean while it's being plucked from the farmings, to the roasting, to the sweet latte, to the gourmand feel of it, from mochas, from cappuccinos, to lattes, to actual Americano coffee. Everything you want in a coffee fragrance is out there, and these nuances are very much so stimulants, arousing, sensual, and just calming and relaxing. And that's what we want in fragrances, our fragrance journeys. So I know there's fragrances out there that you guys can list below that smell great. I know one is going to be Acro Awake. I know that. I have a sample of that, and I trust me, I'm going to get that in my collection. So I want to hear more about Acro down below. Let me know what you guys think of this collection, and let me know what you have in your collection that is coffee based, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.